In this video, we'll dive in the exciting topic of return on advertising spend, or ROAS. Before we get started, let's quickly have an overview of what we'll cover in this video. First, we'll start with a brief introduction to set the stage for our discussion. Next, we'll explain what ROAS is and why it's a crucial metric for measuring the effectiveness of your advertising campaigns. Then we'll talk about how to set profitability targets for your ROAS to ensure your advertising efforts generate profits. After that, we'll explore the concept of the point of diminishing returns and how it affects your advertising strategy. We'll also look at how ROAS relates to other key performance metrics and why it's important to consider them together. Finally, we'll discuss the limitations of ROAS and what you need to be aware of when using this metric. So, whether you're new to digital marketing or looking to refine your advertising strategies, this video has something for you. Let's get started. Imagine, you're a digital marketer working at Athletes Only, the Barcelona-based sports footwear multinational. Your mission? To launch a Google Ads campaign that not only reaches but resonates with every athlete and sneaker enthusiast out there. But once the campaign is live, the real challenge begins. Measuring its success and making sure every click moves the needle. Stay tuned. Welcome to the ultimate guide where we unlock the secrets of ROAS. This isn't just another metric, it's your compass in the vast digital marketing sea. In this video, we're not just scratching the surface, we're diving deep into how to harness the power of ROAS to optimize your campaign, connect the dots with other critical metrics, and ensure that every dollar you invest works as hard as you do. Get ready to turn your marketing efforts into solid profit. Let's dive in. Simply put, the ROAS is the ratio between the generated revenue and the advertising spend. For example, if we spend $1 on advertising and generate $5 of revenue, the ROAS of the campaign is 5 divided by 1, which gives a value of 5. Typically, ROAS is expressed as a percentage. Therefore, we multiply by 100, which leads the definition of ROAS being generated revenue divided by ad spend, multiplied by 100%. In this part of the video, we are going to examine ROAS from a graphical perspective. The return on ad spend as a graphical representation looks like this. On the horizontal axis, we have the ad spend, while the vertical axis represents the generated revenue. ROAS forms the link between the two. The value of ROAS is indicated by the steepness of the line. The steeper the line, the higher the ROAS. The less steep the line, the lower the ROAS. Now let's look at a couple of examples. Let's assume the ROAS is 100%. According to the formula, the return and the ad spend should be equal to produce a ROAS of 100%. In our case, a $5 ad spend that generates a $5 return corresponds to a ROAS of 100%. If the same $5 ad spend generates a $10 return, then the ROAS is 200%. Similarly, if we generate $20 with the same ad spend, our ROAS is 400%. As you can see, the steeper the line, the higher the ROAS. The ROAS formula suggests that at a profitable ROAS target, the relationship between ad spend and return is linear. The higher the ad spend, the more revenue we could generate. For example, if we spent $1 billion at a ROAS of 500%, we could generate $5 billion in revenue. However, this is not the case. As we will see later in this video, when the ad spend increases, ROAS decreases. Another way to look at ROAS is a tabular view. In the table, the first column shows the ROAS value in multiples of 100%, while the second column shows the revenue in multiples of ad spend. So at a multiple of 1x, the revenue is equal to the ad spend, while at a multiple of 2x, the revenue is twice the ad spend, and so forth. This is an easy way to remember the relation between ROAS and revenue. At x 100%, the revenue is x times the ad spend. In conclusion, ROAS is the ratio between the revenue generated from an advertising campaign and the ad spend for that campaign. It's the lever that measures how effectively ad spend generates revenue. The higher the ROAS value, the more revenue is generated per dollar spent on advertising. Now that we know what ROAS is, let's see what the ROAS target should be for our campaign. A ROAS of less than 100% means that the generated revenue is lower than the ad spend. So it's clear that ROAS of less than 100% is not the right range we want to be in. A ROAS of exactly 100%, on the other hand, means that the generated revenue is equal to the ad spend. In other words, all revenue we made is consumed by the ad spend. This ROAS value is known as the revenue parity. So clearly a ROAS of 100% is also not a profitable target unless the campaign is intended for brand awareness purposes. If we want the campaign to generate a net profit, then a value of more than 100% is the right target. But what exact value should it be? To answer this question, let's take ROAS to the next target value, the so-called gross margin parity. For sake of simplicity, we assume that the sneaker is priced at $110, the VAT is 10%, and the gross margin is 40%. We use round numbers to keep the calculations easy to follow. But before we dive in the details of this example, let's first take a sidestep to understand the breakdown of the revenue. Revenue is the money generated from sales operations, calculated as the average sales price multiplied by the number of units sold. It is the top-line figure from which costs are subtracted to determine net income. Gross margin represents the amount of money a company retains after incurring the direct costs associated with producing the goods. This cost is known as the cost of goods sold. If the company does not produce the goods itself, then this cost is equal to the purchasing cost of the goods. So the gross margin is the revenue minus the cost of goods sold. That is how we get to the gross margin. Even though the gross margin is an important metric, eventually we are interested in the net margin. The net margin is the amount of money that we keep after subtracting all business expenses. Now that we have a good understanding of the revenue breakdown, let's get back to our example. To get to the revenue, we first have to subtract the VAT from the gross sales. The revenue, or net sales, is $110 minus $10 VAT, which results in $100. At a 40% gross margin, the dollar value is $40. So our gross margin is $40. The remaining $60 is the cost of goods sold. Now, what should the ROAS value be so that the ad spend exactly consumes the gross profit? Clearly, the ad spend should be equal to the gross margin, which is $40. Now let's plug in these numbers. ROAS is $100, the revenue divided by $40, the ad spend, and multiplied by 100%. This results in a ROAS value of 250%. So in this example, at a value of 250%, ROAS is at its gross margin parity. It's clear that at a value of 250%, we're still not profitable. Our gross margin is completely consumed by the ad spend, leaving no space for the remaining business expenses. In order to become profitable, let's take ROAS to the next level, the net margin parity. For this exercise, let's assume that the business expenses are 60% of the gross margin. What's left is the net margin of 40%. If we're talking about selling a sneaker and making a gross margin of $40 on it, our actual profit, or net margin, after taking away the 60% business expenses would be 40% of $40, which equals to $16. This means for every sneaker we sell, we make $16 net profit. Now, to understand how much we need to make from our campaign to not lose any money, which means making a 0% net profit, we plug in the numbers again. $100 revenue divided by $16 ad spend and multiplied by 100% results in a ROAS of 625%. This shows that if our ad spend is $16, the same as our profit, then we're not losing money, but we're also not making any money either. This is the net margin parity point of ROAS. To actually start making a profit, our ROAS needs to be higher than 625%. If our ROAS reaches 800%, we'll be making a small profit of $3.5 on each sneaker. And if we get our ROAS up to 1,000%, we're doing even better, making a $6 profit per sneaker, which is equivalent to a 6% net profit on our sales. This concludes our overview of ROAS profitability analysis. If you want to do a ROAS profitability analysis for your own situation, then check out our Nestlé ROAS profitability calculator in the link below. The ROAS point of diminishing returns refers to the threshold at which each additional dollar invested in advertising yields a smaller increase in revenue than the previous dollar did. In simpler terms, it's the point where increasing your advertising budget leads to proportionally less profit, indicating that further investment may not be as cost-effective. Understanding this point is crucial for businesses aiming to optimize their marketing strategies and budgets. By identifying when and where diminishing returns occur, you can allocate your resources more efficiently, focusing on campaigns that offer the best return on investment. So why does the point of diminishing returns occur? Several factors contribute to the diminishing returns in advertising. First, market saturation. There's a finite audience interested in your product or service. Once you've reached a significant portion of that audience, finding new customers becomes more challenging and expensive. Second, ad fatigue. Overexposure to the same ads can lead to decreased engagement. Audiences may start ignoring your ads if they've seen them too many times. Third, competitive landscape. Increased competition can drive up advertising costs, especially in pay-per-click models where bids for keywords become more expensive. And lastly, channel limitations. Each advertising channel, such as social media, search engines, email, etc., has its own reach and effectiveness. Expanding beyond optimal levels in a single channel may not yield better results. In conclusion, the ROAS point of diminishing returns is a critical concept for maximizing the efficiency of your advertising budget. By identifying this point, you can prevent wasted spend and focus on strategies that deliver the highest returns. In this section, we are going to see how ROAS relates to other digital marketing metrics, such as conversion rate, cost per click, and many other metrics. Understanding these relationships can help you optimize your campaigns and maximize your returns. We are going to look specifically at a pay-per-click campaign. The pay-per-click analysis differs slightly from other types of campaigns, such as a display campaign, for example. Let's get started. First, let's talk about conversion rate. The conversion rate is the percentage of users who make a purchase out of the total number of visitors. So if, for example, out of 100 visitors, 2 users make a purchase, then the conversion rate is 2%. A higher conversion rate means a lower ad spend, which directly boosts your ROAS. So, focusing on conversion rate optimization can significantly enhance your ROAS. The relation between ROAS and conversion rate is directly proportional, which means the higher the conversion rate, the higher the ROAS. The lower the conversion rate, the lower the ROAS. More specifically, the conversion rate and ROAS not only move proportionally, but also move with the same proportion. This means that if the conversion rate increases by 2x, ROAS also increases by 2x. So, in order to boost your return on ad spend, focusing on increasing your conversion rate is one of the most effective strategies. By doing this, you directly impact and improve your ROAS. The second metric we are going to look at is the cost per click, abbreviated as CPC. The cost per click refers to the amount you pay each time someone clicks on your ad. A lower CPC significantly enhances your ROAS. Assuming other variables remain constant, spending less to acquire clicks means a lower ad spend. When you pay less per click, your ad spend decreases, which in turn increases ROAS. So the relation between ROAS and CPC is inversely proportional, which means the lower the cost per click, the higher the ROAS, and vice versa. Decreasing your CPC by half leads to a doubling of your ROAS. Similar to what we have seen with the conversion rate, ROAS and CPC also move with the same proportions. A decrease of CPC by 2x will result in an increase of ROAS by 2x. The third metric we are going to look at is the customer lifetime value, abbreviated as CLV. The customer lifetime value refers to the total amount of revenue a business earns from a single customer over the entire duration of their relationship. This means that the customer not only makes the initial purchase, but also makes one or more return purchases. Because the total revenue made from a single customer is higher than that of the initial purchase, is ROAS higher. Therefore, the relation of ROAS and customer lifetime value is linear proportional. The higher the customer lifetime value, the higher the ROAS. With this, we have covered 3 of the most important metrics that drive ROAS to help you make decisions when setting up and optimizing advertising campaigns. Finally, we're going to address the limitations of ROAS. The most important limitations is that ROAS does not reflect profitability. It measures revenue, not profit. It doesn't factor in the cost of goods sold, operational expenses, or overhead costs. So, a campaign could have a high ROAS but still be unprofitable when all expenses are accounted for. Secondly, ROAS focuses in short term. ROAS is great for measuring immediate returns but doesn't account for the long-term value of a customer. If you're only looking at the short-term gains, you might miss out on strategies that build sustainable growth over time. Thirdly, ROAS ignores customer lifetime value. ROAS doesn't consider the total revenue a customer might bring throughout their relationship with your business. By overlooking CLV, you might undervalue campaigns that attract loyal, high-value customers. Fourth on the list, ROAS does not scale well. A campaign might have a high ROAS at a small ad spend budget, but as you pump more money into it, the efficiency drops, resulting in lower returns and profits. Fifth, ROAS doesn't account for customer retention costs. Keeping customers engaged often requires additional marketing efforts, which aren't factored into the initial ROAS calculation. Sixth, ROAS suffers from attribution challenges. In a multi-channel marketing world, attributing revenue to a specific ad or campaign is complex. Misattribution can inflate or deflate your ROAS, leading to misguided decisions. And finally, ROAS potential for misinterpretation. Without proper context, ROAS can be misleading. A campaign with a lower ROAS but higher overall profit might be more beneficial than one with a high ROAS but limited reach.